So here we have a 4.5 metre Redpath Tunnelhouse, and this is the side base rails. The two side base rails are made up of a 1 metre length, just in the foreground here, and a 3.587 metre length. So these are going to join together with a sleeve, which the sleeve is already pre-fitted at the factory, and you can see the Duralock groove on the outside at the top of the rail. So this is the outside of the tunnel house. So there's a long piece on this side and a short piece, and a long piece on this side and a short piece. Running along the side base rails, the saddles are already fitted to the inside face. When they are assembled correctly, the saddles will be all at 1.5 metre centres. Okay, so just looking back here, we're just going to pick up this short base rail and join it with the sleeve and put the two screws in. Here we have the base rail joining together. Now we have two screws to go in to complete the join. That's number one. And number two. So now we have a 4.5 metre side base rail, and we'll have that times two when we do that other join. So here we are on stage two of the 4.5 metre tunnel example. The two side base rails are connected together here, and they're leading down to be connected to the front wall. So this is the door in front wall. So we have this standing here vertically at the moment, as you can see. And at the front, down in the bottom corner here, this is an important thing. The corners meet as shown here, with the door guide outside the end of the side base rail. The side base rail flush with the front face of the door end base. On the inside, you'll see that the Duralock groove is on the inside of the tunnel house, not on the outside. So the Duralock is on the inside, as opposed to the side base rails. The Duralock groove is on the outside. So don't make that mistake, put it on the inside. In the corner here we have some corner saddles, and there's three screws that are going to go into this so we can join the side base rail to the front base rail. We'll show that now as I'll come around and walk through. Here we go. And so we're going to put this corner bracket on whilst holding the front wall vertical. There's three screws go into this corner bracket. That's one. That's two. And that's three. So here we have the front wall of the tunnel house standing. This is the front or door end wall. And also on this door end wall you'll see the saddles are already pre-fitted. This is for the purlins that are going to be fitted at a later stage. These are your lengthways purlins that run along the length of the tunnel. Okay, we'll move on to the rear wall now, and then we're all done. So here's the front wall of the tunnel house, 4.5 metre, already stood and screwed into place. The next one is to put the rear wall in place, and we're just showing that going in now. You can see the rear wall is the same as the front wall, where it fits in between the side base rails. So this is the end of the side base rail, and this is the front face of the rear wall. The groove on the rear wall for the Duralock clipping system is on the outside. You can see it here. It's different to the door end where the groove is on the inside of the tunnel house. So these are flush here, and then we're going to show the same as we did with the front wall, the three screws going in to secure the end wall, which we'll show you in a minute. Okay, so here we have the front wall and the rear wall already stood and in place. Remember, if you've got a door at each end, then you'll have two front walls. So in that case, you'd have the groove of the Duralock facing to the inside at both ends. So here we are, all stood up, nice and vertical, relative to the base rail. Here's the rear wall. This has got the louver in it, of course. Louver mechanism here before we put the blades in. And also, it's the same as the front wall where it's got the four Purlin saddles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now coming in here is the internal hoops, and these are going to slide into the saddles that are on the side base rail, already pre-fitted. So there goes number one in place. At this moment we're not actually going to screw them in place, we'll screw those in later. And this is the other side going into place. Then we have another arch which is going to go into the saddle here. So we're going to put this is an open saddle at the moment. So we're bringing that across now. There's number 1 slid in. And now sliding in number 2. And down. So now we have a tunnel house with 2 internal hoops and 2 ends stood in place, pretty much ready to put purlins onto. So the tunnel house is now really taking some shape. The tunnel house, this is a 4.5 metre tunnel, and it's going to have a roof vent fitted in the centre span. So in this span here, between the 2 centre arches, it's going to have a roof vent. Now, the important thing for that is where the roof vent's going, you need a smooth face here and a smooth face here. If this hoop is in the wrong direction, it'll have the groove face, which we don't want. So smooth face arch faces the smooth face of the arch. This is where the roof vent is about to fit. So here we are about to fit the roof rails. So it's going to be fitted onto this position here where there's no polyguard on the central hoop. And this is the other end. You'll see that's polyguard free. And this is the vent rail about to be lowered into place. The hoops are at 1.5 metre centres. You can see how it rests halfway across the hoop. Just nestled in there. You can see where the 2 screws are going to go to retain that. And we've got 1 screw going in there. Move the drill around. Can't see. There's 1 screw going in. And we've got a screw to go in this side here as well, on the outside. These are 22mm stainless steel screws, so you'll see those in your vent pack, the slightly longer screws. Moving to the other end, we've got 1 more screw going in. Can't see them. Yeah, and another screw to go in here. So there we have the vent approximately fitted, the vent rails in position. Now we're going to finish off with 2 more screws at each end. So there's 2 screws at both ends of the vent rail, 4 in total at each end. So there's the second one done at the one end, and the 4th one now going into this. Alright, and moving to the other end, we'll finish off the screws in this end also. And 1 more, and we're done. So we have the vent rail fitted to the top of the building. We'll be introducing the cap next. Right, we're joining purlins together now for our 4.5 metre Redpath tunnel house. The purlin saddle is already pre-fitted to the end arches. They're not yet fitted to the middle arches, as you can see here and here, but at the other end we have another one here. Over here on the floor are the purlins. They're in 3 pieces. This is for a 4.5 metre tunnel house. We have a 766mm part here with a sleeve in the end, which is about to sleeve into the end of this 3 metre long purlin piece. And then at the other end, well, this part also has a sleeve in it, which is going to sleeve into this last 766mm piece. The polyguard, or the white material you can see on top here, is to stop the cover wearing on the aluminium when it's in place. So this is, at the moment we're showing this upright. We're about to turn that over and put this purlin together. Here we go now. We're rolling the purlin over on its back, so the polyguard's on the ground. Joining the purlin together, nice and tight. You can see the pre-fitted 2 screws already, and we just need to put 2 more screws into the join. Number 1 gone in, and number 2 going in. So that's 1 joint done. Then we move down to the other. So there's already a joiner in the 3 metre piece. Bring in the last 766mm piece. 2 more screws. The screws are self-drilling stainless steel, so they're easy to put in and they'll last forever. So there we now have a purlin that is 4.5 metres long, and that's ready to be installed in our 4.5 metre tunnel house. So here we are going to set up a purlin in the Redpath tunnel house. There's 4 purlins on each tunnel house, and this is the first one to set up, which is the one horizontal on the wall. You can see the saddle here. Now we've got a string line set up here. The string line runs the full length of the tunnel all the way down to the underside of the bracket. These brackets are already pre-fitted by Redpath, so this gives you the position, but we just need to know where these 2 central positions are going to go for a start. So you stretch a string line between the 2 along the inside of the wall, and then bring in the saddle to mark it. Put a mark on the arch just to set the height. There we go, it's number 1 done. Then just move down to your next one, because if you've got a 3 metre tunnel you only have 1 of these, and if you've got a longer tunnel you have more of these internal saddles. Right, so now we've got the internal hoops marked. So next we move to the outside of the tunnel, and just to show the purlin going on, you can see the purlin here with the white polyguard tape facing to the outside to protect the film. One end is just sort of temporarily held in the saddle at the rear wall end. Then moving along to the door end, we're about to put the first purlin into the saddle at this end. Let me slide that in. And sometimes it's a bit tight, so what you do is you can just back off one of the screws holding the saddle to give it a little bit more room, and this gives a space for the purlin to be slid into place. The purlin slides in so it's flush on the end. You can see it's flush here with the face of the saddle, and then we're going to go and fix the screws on that. Put that screw back in and tighten that saddle back up. That's that one done. Now we're going to move to the centre portals, and we're going to put the saddle, put the screw in the centre here first, shall we? There we are, that's done. And then moving inside, we've got the mark on the arch already where we've just pre-marked the saddles earlier on. So we put the saddle on, bring it to the mark here, and we're going to put the screws whilst holding that central. Screw goes in, and there's 2 more screws to go in, one underneath and one in the centre. And the final one in the middle. And we repeat the process on the next saddle as well, so we just repeat that process. When we've got that all done, we can step back and we can see all of the purlins in place on the building. So there's a total of 4 purlins on this structure. That's number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, running along to the end. So here we are putting the sidewall braces in on the standard tunnel. There's 4 sidewall braces, and here we go, 1 coming in position on the angle. And you can see at the end here, we're going to position it's just above where the lintel is, and the end of the brace is in from the face of the tunnel, and that's because when the plastic goes on the end of the tunnel, we don't want the sharp edge touching the film. So it's always back about 5 millimeters, you can see there. So we're just going to drill that into position on the inside of the end hoop, and that's 1 down. Then we're going to come around down to the bottom, and you can see the brace in position. This is going to go onto the base rail at the base where it naturally sits, somewhere in the centre. Just roughly there. So that's the sidewall brace in position on the standard tunnel. And on the rest of the tunnel, you can see the other braces are fitted. There's the other door end sidewall brace. There's the rear wall sidewall brace, and the other rear wall sidewall brace. So they're all in position. It's just simply 2 screws and 4 braces. So here we have the cover kit for the Redpath tunnel houses. They're rolled into a single roll. You'll find in this roll, it's wrapped in weed mat to help protect it during transit. You'll have the roof cover, 2 end covers, and a door cover in this roll. You'll see them marked on the ends here what those cover sizes are. A 2x1 for the door, 2 rolls of 3x3, 1 for each end, and in this case a 6 metre by 5 metre Duratuff which is the roof inside. That's all one piece. Now we'll just open that up and you'll see what it looks like. So just use a knife to carefully cut the wrapping tape off. Just careful not to cut too deep when you're doing this stuff. Just slice the tape across. As I say, we wrap it in weed mat because it's excellent abrasion resistance, and so we don't get any damage during transit, or hopefully not anyway. So we just simply go along, slice the tape through. It's done. Alright. And then we unroll the weed mat, open the roll up, slide it out. And we have our greenhouse film underneath. Rolled onto the roll here, you'll see the outside rolls are the door first, and then below that layer is the end walls, and then the roof cover is the other layer. So they all need to be unrolled. We'll start with the door cover first, and we're going to skin the door now. It's good to start on the door because it's easy to practice on, and it's a small piece if you're not used to the clipping system. Here we go. Okay, so we're discussing Duralock 2 assembly instructions. With Duralock 2 there's 3 pieces to the Redpath clipping system. The aluminium base, the Duralock channel insert, and the Duralock bead insert. It's a 3-piece system. These 3 pieces all work together to securely hold the greenhouse film. So we have our base aluminium. This is screwed to the building. The screws are fixed in this back tab, approximately every 5 or 6 inches or 200 millimeters. That there will be a screw placed to secure the aluminium base to the building. For instance, screwed to a base rail or something similar. So we'll assume that that's been done here. Then we would have the greenhouse film that would be coming towards the Duralock 2 jaw, and would pull the greenhouse film over approximately 50 or 60 millimeters, so there's enough tab to hold onto and tension the polythene greenhouse film. The second part of the system then comes into play, which is the Duralock channel. And the Duralock channel only goes in one way. It goes in with the channel facing upwards, as you can see, and there is a locking tab on the channel, and that faces towards the film. And that locking tab locks into its associate in the channel itself. If you have a close look at that, you'll be able to see that when you're assembling it. But basically the locking tab goes in this direction and essentially faces the film. So we roll that into the channel. We start at about a 30-degree angle, and then just basically roll the front edge underneath. The locking tab rolls in, and the back gets pushed down, which traps the film in the channel. And we continue that process right along the length, for the 2 meter length of the channel, or however long the greenhouse is, of course. And so there we have the second part of the insert of the clipping system is in place. We have the aluminium and the Duralock channel in place. The third part of the system is the locking bead. What we want to see is we don't want the channel closing under pressure from wind. So to keep that apart and tight in there, we install the Duralock bead into place. It starts again. Put one end in, tap it in with a rubber hammer or your finger or your hand, and position that in the top of the channel. So that way we've got a good secure holding system for the greenhouse film, and it won't let go. The end. So here we have a single door being skinned. This door we're fitting Duratough film to. We've got this set up on trestles, so just easier to skin the door on a trestle. You can see we've got the inserts, the Duralock channel and the Duralock bead set up around each side. So here we are, just got it set up ready to go. So we just pre-cut the Duralock. You have to cut the length with an extra piece. You can see, just use the offcut. It doesn't need to be all one piece, but it's good to have those pre-cut ready to go. They're cut about 25 millimeters short than the overall length of the Duralock channel, because it can get a bit tight in the corner otherwise, so it's best to cut them short back a little bit, and we'll come back in a second. Okay, now we're just going to start at one end, and we can see Mark here starting with the insert. He's got the insert in his left hand, and you can see him placing it now. So just tilting it forward slightly, angling it forward, and then rolling the back in. There's not a lot of tension on the film at this stage. but we will get more tension when we go to the other end. So just start in the middle, working towards each end, towards corners, putting the channel in, and then we'll pop a piece of bead in as well. There we go now, and we just need to finish that off with a hammer. There we go. Just tap that in. Okay, that's one end done. We're about to go to the other end and pull it tight. Okay, now we'll just swing around to the other end here. We've got Mark pulling the cover as tight as he can, starting in the middle again with the channel, roughly lined up at each end. Just rolling the front edge forward and then roll the back in. And we've just got an extra little piece going in here. You can just cut it through any length you like. Put that piece in. And then we're going to pop the bead in again. Same as we've done at this end here. Just popping the bead in, and the last little bit as well. We'll trim off the plastic afterwards with the beads in. So that's one end done. And now the second end. Now we'll start on the sides. Right, we're just going to start the sides now. We're starting in the centre again. You can see we've got the beads and the channel already pre-cut, ready for the length to go in the groove. Mark's just pulling it in the centre, rolling the bead forward again, down in the channel, pressing that into the Duralock groove. Just follow the instructions. The channel just goes in one direction with a little lip facing the plastic. And just finish off the other end. Roll it in. This is the channel going in. And then the last little piece of channel, which is just to, you just cut these to make the length correct. Pop that in. Then this bead's going to be popped in with a, we'll see back out here. So there we are. Let's finish off the bead. And now the last little bit of bead just to pop in. Right, we'll come back to the other side. Now just switching to the other side of the door, once again starting in the middle. We've got the channel in hand here, rolling that in. Excuse the background noise. There we go, so the channel's going in. Into the Duralock groove. All of the door is done with Duralock 2. And if you read on the instructions, the printed instructions, you'll see the technique of the insert, which direction it goes and which way the bead goes. It's the last little piece going in now. And then there we go with the bead again. Just got the bead to pop in. There we go, running along. Now the last little bit of bead. And we're happy with the tension on the door there. It's nice and tight. So now we're going to go around and we're going to trim this edge off. We normally trim it off at about level with the back of the aluminium, so about 10mm or so behind the Duralock groove. Just we're going to look this quickly along with a knife, make it look nice and tidy. So that's one edge done. And there we go, just like magic, we've got a trimmed off door. You can see the trimming level, about a centimetre behind. Don't trim it until you're happy with the tension on the cover, because if you do want to retension a bit, you can take a little bit of the Duralock out again, pull the plastic tight, and then put the Duralock back in. But if you trim it off close, it's very hard to retension because you've got no plastic to hang on to. This is the bottom of the door here. This shows the fin, as it's called, on the bottom. This is going to go in the door guide slot at the bottom of the door, and the top of the door up this end. With the door rollers are already fitted to the door, as you can see here. 1 and 2. This door is actually the wide door, so it's 830mm wide. The standard door is 630mm wide, but they're essentially, you just follow the same technique for the skinning. Alright, so that's the door skinned. So here we are with our 4.5 metre Redpath tunnel house. We're about to slide the roof cover up and over. The roof cover is 6 metres wide. It's a 3 metre on the roll, and you unfold it to become 6 metres wide. Then we're going to slide it up and over the end and roughly position it in place. And here we go. So there we have the cover roughly in place, so 6 meters up and over, and a little bit hanging over each end, ready to start the clipping system. You'll see the printing if you can on the camera. I'm not sure if you can. Mark can point it out for us. That's running parallel to the purlin. So basically, you know, the sheet is square to the building, so you can also use a fold line in the film to make sure it's sort of roughly parallel. But you need approximately the same amount on each side along overhanging the base rail, and the same amount at each end. So now you've roughly got it square on the house. Well, hi there again. Here we have the corner stud aluminium beam that we use on the Redpath tunnel houses for the end hoops. It's only used on the end hoops with this clipping system. This is called the Lockstrip V one-piece insert. This cut into 60mm pieces. It has a forward-facing direction. This long leg faces always towards the film, and the back edge is serrated just for your thumb to press it, because when you put it in, you actually squeeze it together and then release it. So it's like a flexible system. So this is effectively the material that we're using on the tunnel house end arches. We bring the roof, so for instance, of the tunnel house plastic to the end arch. We're holding this and tensioning it, and then we're going to position the one-piece V lock strip in this direction here. Once again, with the long leg always facing forward. And as we place it in, we're going to have this under tension. We're going to position this at a slight angle like this, and it goes under the bull nose of the aluminium. As you can see there, it's going in, okay, or trying to go in. And then basically, if we release a little bit of tension and squeeze the A-leg together, we can roll it into the clip, and that's in position and holding the film. This system repeats over and over and over the entire end hoop of the tunnel house, and so you'll have multiple 60mm pieces going in. Your next piece is exactly the same as the first. You're putting some tension on the film, bringing the one-piece lock strip V-lock into position, slight angle forward, roll it in the front first, and then you can use two hands and roll it in the back. And so basically you can see that's finished. We'll just do a lap of that going around. You can see it completed there, nice and close, just showing it in position, and we're all done. Okay, so we're ready to start clipping our 4.5 meter tunnel house, and we're just going to go up, start at one end. The cover's already distributed, and we can see the inserts here. We'll show the direction of the inserts. This is the V-lock, and it has the long leg, if you point to it there, Mark, facing forward. That always faces towards the film, that part of the leg. You'll see the shape the way it is. Don't put it in backwards, because it won't work backwards. So here we go. At the very top, at the apex of the tunnel, we're going to put two pieces just to start off. And here we go. So we press the V-lock together, and it clicks down into the groove, roll it in like that, and there's two pieces put in at the apex. This is at the first end. This is just to temporarily hold it. Then we're going to move down to the 3 o'clock position on the sidewall. And we're going to pull the cover sideways and down the arch at the same time. And we're going to put the next piece of V-lock in, same as before, with that facing in that one direction, and clicking it into place. Okay, the next piece we're going to put in is approximately at 10 o'clock. So in between the one at 3 o'clock and the one at the top, pull the film tight. There's the position of the insert. In, rolling it in, click. Okay, so that's the start of one end. We're going to repeat that process on the other part of the tunnel, down this side here. We've already got the top piece in. We're going to put a piece in at 9 o'clock here, and then we're going to put a piece in at 10 o'clock here. There's the one gone in at 9 o'clock, and then around here, pull the cover, take the slack out of the cover, and put the piece in at 10 o'clock. And that's it, that's installed into the end. So that's just starting off at one end. We'll go to the other end now, which is when we tension the film. So here we are at the opposite end of the tunnel house. We've already put some temporary clips at the western end, shall we say, and now we're coming down to the eastern end. We're actually going to return to the western end and pull the last little bit of tension out. You see the film being pulled over, tight over the groove, and there's the insert going in the correct direction, rolling forward and back, and as you push it in, the film is released from behind, and that clicks into place. So that's the first piece in. Once again, we're going to do another piece at the ridge. We normally put 2 pieces in at the ridge just to start with. Clicking that in. And then we're going to come back down to the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock positions and put some inserts in about where the purlin is roughly on the side. It's roughly, once again, put a bit of tension on the film, position the insert in the correct direction again. Oh, can't see anything. And then pop it in. Okay, so that's the 3 o'clock. There's one going to go in the 10 o'clock and on the other side as well. And then we'll go back to the other end and check the tension. You can see the pucker in the film here, so we're just pulling it sideways. And goes the insert again. Push it forward and then back and in. That's it. So that's that temporarily done. So here we are with our 4.5 metre tunnel house. You can see the far end's clipped in, and down at this end there's a little bit of slack still in the film, and we've got these ones already temporarily in, but we're going to pop those out now and get a bit more tension on this end. Just roll them forward and out, press the V-clip together. There's 3 pieces in here. Now we're going to pull the plastic tighter, a little bit tighter, bring the film through. You can see the ridge is tight now, and then we're going to put the V back in again, rolling it forward and then in at the back and down. That's in, and then another piece, roll it forward and then back down, and that's in. Now you can see the ridge is tighter now along the whole ridge of the building. And we're going to do the same also in this temporary piece that's here, because now we can see we can get some more tension out of the plastic. So we roll this piece out. Oop, roll this piece out. Pull the plastic a bit tighter, like that. Position the piece again, and roll it forward and down and in again. So we have that piece going in. There we are, and we can see we've got good tension on the polythene. So you can have a few goes at tensioning the film. Don't be afraid to unclip and reclip. And what we're going to do is we're going to put all the clips in between the temporary parts. So we've got a piece at each end at 12 o'clock, a piece at each end at 10 o'clock, and a piece at each end at 9 and 3 o'clock. And we'll put one at the base of the building as well. And then once we're happy with how flat and how tight the cover is, we're going to go in and fill all the pieces in 60mm pieces, all in between the other parts. So the whole hoop has the V-lock clip in it. So we have the next stage of our Redpath Tunnelhouse 4.5. This has got the roof cover ends fitted, and it has the V-lock fitted to the roof cover at both ends, not quite to the bottom corner, because we're going to start on the base rail shortly, and we leave a little bit left gap here so we can get any puckers that were left in the corners out to make it a little bit tidier. You can see the cover on the tunnel house is pretty good, and you can see the inserts, all the V-locks going up and around, all the 60mm pieces going over pretty much over the full hoop, down to within around about 600 mils of 500mm of the base rail. And they've all been inserted at both ends. And you can see down here, it's the opposite end, exactly the same. The V-lock is fitted in 60mm pieces all the way around the hoop, holding the cover nice and tight. We haven't trimmed off the end covers yet. We wait until we're happy with the tension before we trim the cover, because if you do want to undo and reclip the cover, it's good to have some film to hold on to and retension. I can show a cover being retensioned. We can pop a piece out. Mark's over here now. We can take a piece out in the middle of the sheet somewhere, or down anywhere you like. Anywhere you like. We can roll it forward and out. We can pull that tail a little bit tight if we want to. And then we can pop the insert back in again if there's a pucker or a crease in your film, and pop it back in. So you can have a if you're not happy with the tension on the cover and it's a bit wrinkly, just you can go away for a day or so, or let the cover relax, or wait for a nice warm day and the cover will sort of stretch and become more pliable, and you can take the V-lock out and have another go at reclipping it. So that's often an easy thing, a nice simple thing to do if you're not satisfied with the tension. But as you can see, you can get pretty good tension on these tunnel houses. And here's our tunnel house. We've got that's actually up on trestles. We're going to put the base rail clip in. We find this easier up on trestles because you can work at waist height. You can just leave it simply sitting on the ground and put the Duralock inserts into the base rail, but it is just somewhat simpler just to lift it up in the air a little bit. So here we have the Duralock 2 system. So we've got the this is the channel, and that's going to go in first. Mark's pulling the cover tight. He's just positioning the channel. We start in the middle of the side of the tunnel house and push the Duralock. You sort of roll it in and down and pop it in, and then work your finger way along and putting the bead in as you go. Just working it in, tipping it in. There we go, just popping it into each end. And then the other end, these are 1.5 meter pieces, and the very end pieces will be trimmed just to match the length of the base rail. We're just pushing the insert in as we go, and that's trapping the Duratough nice and reliably. It'll hold it in high wind. We hope we use the same system on our commercial greenhouses. Holds very big covers very reliably. Then we've got the bead as before, which we used around the doorway. Just got the bead to go in the groove. There's the shape. That's just going to tap in, and it's going to secure the system in place. Just work your way along, being careful not to hit the plastic, of course, only the bead. And so that's the first 1.5 meter piece of Duralock on the side base rail. We're going to fill into the ends at each end and tension the plastic as we're going. So here we have the first side base rail clipped off. You can see the Duralock is fitted all along the base rail. In this case it's on a 4.5 meter tunnel. So we've gone the full length, and we're going to start putting the last of the V-lock into the lower part of the end arch. It's just the last little piece. It pays to leave a little gap because you can sort out any creases or pucker lines that might occur on the greenhouse film. You can see these just being popped in as we speak. And we can do this with our hands, or we can use a pair of pliers, which we've got down here. If you fancy it, you can put a piece in with pliers. There we are. Okay, the next stage is we're happy with our roof cover. That's all fitted and clipped off. I've got the ends using the V-lock right down to the corners, as you can see there. All looking very nice, cover's looking nice and tight. If you're a bit concerned about the tension on the cover, you can either put a little heater inside the tunnel house, or just wait until it's a nice sunny day and have another go at retensioning, so it'll stretch a little bit more. The Duralock is all along the base rail. Now we're just going to trim it off. We're happy with the tension. We wouldn't cut it off, trim it off until we're happy with the tension, but here we go. We've got about 300 mils of film hanging over at this end, and we're just going to trim basically within about 20 mils of the end of the hoop, and use the aluminium as a guide. And we're going to go down and just trim around nice and tidy. Try and keep it tidy. We try and keep it close-ish because we don't want this tail interfering when we start clipping the other end piece of Duratough off for the end wall. And we just trim that down to the ground, and we're done. Too easy. So that's the end started, and what we do is go right up over the arch with that cutting at both ends, and then of course along the base rail. This one's actually trimmed pretty close already, but we normally leave about 6 inches or so, 150 mil at the base rail. Just acts as a vermin flashing, etc. So yeah, that's all good. So here we are. We've trimmed off the end roof cover, so you can see it's quite tidy. It's within 20 millimeters of the end arch, and then the little trick that we use is just to fold that tail up and over the end clip. You can see that folding up and over, and it just keeps it out of the front groove, and it makes the building, just tidies up the building a little bit. It's really simple thing to do. So it's just up and out of the way. So we're just going to do some finishing work for the putting tension on the Redpath Tunnelhouse. This skin's gone on a 4.5 metres, reasonably tight, but we can actually add a little bit more tension, and one of the tricks we use to do that is following. Essentially the internal hoops in the tunnel house, this one is a 4.5 metre, so there's two internal hoops. The base rail, when you first build them, when we first said in our first video, you'll remember to leave the internal hoop portals down below unscrewed from the saddles, and this one's protruding below the base rail a little bit. So essentially, because the outside edge of the cover is clipped on the outside, we can actually lift the internal hoops up and put some tension on the plastic. I'll show you doing that right now. So we're just going to put our foot on the base rail, we're going to lift up the internal hoop, there it goes, and then we're going to put a holding screw in place. Now what this does, and we'll do it on the next one as well, what this does is it applies vertical tension to the cover and helps tension the cover overall. There goes that one up in the air, pop the screw in, and there's 3 screws in total to go into this bracket, so there's 1, 2, 3. Sometimes if the arch moves up a greater amount, if the cover's loose, you'll find you'll only get 2 screws in that bracket, but that's sufficient to hold the portal in place anyway. So when we back out again with those 2 hoops lifted, we can see we've got some improved tension on the covering. In fact, the arches are sort of putting pressure on the plastic, and you can see the tension in the film there. So it's a little trick that works quite well for helping you get the plastic tight on a Redpath tunnel house. Okay, now it's time to fit the high wind kit braces. So this is an end wall brace, which is already part of the standard kit, so that's already fitted. But we're about to fit another sidewall brace in this position here. The brace is showing here being held upright in Mark's left hand. It's got the poly guard on the outside, and we're about to fit that now. In his left hand is the collar tie kit. So this is a collar tie that goes across the internal hoops. We'll show you that fitted in this video as well. So here we go, we'll put the sidewall brace on now. It's the same as the end wall braces, quite straightforward. Just choose the direction for the brace to go into. It doesn't really matter whichever direction it goes. The height is very similar to the end wall brace. You'll see that's about the same height at the top. Simply screw that into the inside face of the middle hoop and down the bottom, down to the roughly in the middle of the side base rail. So that's the sidewall brace fitted on a 4.5 metre tunnel for the high wind kit. Now we're going to put the collar tie into position, and the collar tie goes across the internal hoops to help brace the internal hoops from side to side. You can see it being held horizontal. You can use a level to do this, or you can get it pretty close even by eye. So Mark's about to put the screws on the end. First one going in. And there's 3 screws to fit at each end into the brace. The brackets are already pre-fitted. The brackets are already pre-fitted at the factory. So that's end number 1 done. Okay, and moving across to the other side. Another 3 screws. And that's the last one. And so that's the collar tie fitted to the internal hoops. They're not fitted to the end arches, they only go to the internal hoops. And there's the other one, that's number 2 on the 4.5 metre tunnel. And of course on the other side we have another brace in the centre as well. So there's 2 of those, one each side. And that's the high wind kit. There's a part of the high wind kit that you can't see. Up inside the internal portals, there's a sleeve inside. You can see the screw just here, holding the internal sleeve in place. That actually strengthens the internal hoop at ground level for better wind resistance. So that's fitted at the factory, don't have to worry about that. Okay, that's that done. All good. So now we're going to put the roof vent in the tunnel house. If your tunnel house has the optional roof vent, this is how we do it. As you can see, the cover's already been fitted to the tunnel house, and just in the section where the vent is, the steel vent rails have already been installed as per the instructions. You would have already had this in place. Obviously we have to cut a space through the roof cover to allow the vent to be fitted. So we'll go down now and just see that being done. So the first job is to cut the space to fit the roof vent. And basically start in the middle and we slit along towards the end till you're right near the vent handle or pivot, and then cut into the corner of the vent back to there. So we're essentially cutting the gap for the vent to operate in the tunnel house cover. That's the way, and then we're going to go to the other end and do the same. Just cut along. You have to go around the handle and the aluminium stays that are in the way there. Just work your way along. Cut into the corners again, back towards with that centre cut. Into the corner again, back towards the centre cut, and then back along. And that's stage one. We'll then go outside and see the clipping system going in. Okay, just like that, we've moved to the outside and we're about to put the Duralock 2 system along each of these steel vent rails. So as you can see, Mark's bringing the insert up, the channel insert up through the gap, and you have to work sort of a little bit blind on this one, but essentially the roof film is being held into the steel vent rails. So you roll the channel in as before, work that way along into the steel vent rails, and you're over length here, Mark.
I'll do it.
Yep.
I need to adjust, I almost need a little marking for myself here.
So we're just set up a little bit long there, so you don't want to go too far with the Duralock. There we go. So we're just going to pop and start that again. Start in the middle, folding the channel in, working towards one end. And there we go, that's going to go in fine. That's one way done. Last piece. And then just working the other way, putting the other Duralock end in as well into the vent rail. There's two vent rails on the tunnel house. This is the west side of the vent rail, and you can do the same process on the east side of the vent rail as well. The channel goes in, and like before, the Duralock's going in. And here we are back again. We're about to put the bead into the vent rail. So there's the bead position above, just getting it pushed in. Same as before with the base rail and around the doorway. It's the same clipping system, the Duralock 2. Push the bead in. It's not sitting down at the moment, but we'll go along and make sure it's all sitting down nice and smoothly. And you can use a hammer or you can use your fingers to push it in. Now we've got the Duralock bead punched in, just tap that in with a hammer, like we showed it before. So we've just cut to this end. Now we're going to put a V-lock in the end, just to hold the very last end piece of the roof cover. So the V-lock's the same as used on the front of the tunnel. You see a piece popping in there. This holds the end plastic at the very. Okay, so we're about to fit the roof vent to the tunnel house, if you've got this option. As a quick tip, we use a bit of timber to hold the cap up in place. So we've already got the steel vent rails in, so we just put a couple of blocks of timber in, as you can see here. And we're going to put the rest of the cap vent on these when we pop it up through the gap, and it just gives you a little bit of space to work while you're attaching the 4 roof vent pivot bolts. So there's 2 pieces of timber in place. Now we're going to introduce the roof vent into position. So here's the roof vent coming up, feed it up through the gap. It goes around one particular way. The handle is attached to the roof cap vent at the end where the pre-punched holes are closest to the end. You'll see that when you put it in place. So that's temporary in position, and we're about to go inside and see the pivot bolts connected. Right, next step is to attach the roof cap vent to the handle and the sway bar. Here's one pre-assembled. This is the 2 washers, a packer, a nylock and a bolt, and there they are loose, and we're about to put the 4 of these in position, and here we go. Okay, so we're off again to assemble the vent. We see a bolt coming in here on the outside that comes through the cap vent itself, and then we've got a packer going on. Change the angle here. There's the packer. And now we're going to thread the washer on and the vent arm. It goes through, you can see the thread coming through, and then there's a nylock nut which goes into place to hold that in place. And we're about to put the nylock on now, so the bolt nut goes on the bolt and we tighten that up. Now we're going to repeat that process 4 times over, and then we'll have the roof vent attached in all 4 positions ready to go. Okay, now we've got the hole cut and we're about to fit the Omega clips onto the 2 vent rails. We start by just making room around the vent handle and vent arm, just so we cut vertically through there, and we cut here as well. This makes it easy to fold the film over. You'll see the Omega clips going on the middle. There's 5 Omega clips each side of the vent rail, and here goes the first one going on. It just sits on top of the little clips on top of the steel rail. Acts as a flashing to help stop the vent leaking in heavy rain and wind. Second one goes on, one in the middle, and there's going to be one at each end. And then lucky last, on that goes. So you can see the 5 clips each side of the vent rails, just securing the tail of the film, and the Duralock fitted on both sides of the vent rails, with the V-lock at the very end, 2 or 3 pieces of the V-lock at the very end, just securing the end plastic for the last piece. Okay, looking good. Now next we're going to put the cap vent on. So here we are with the roof vent fitted now. This is in the closed position. We're just going to pull the handle down and swing it open, and it will swing open to the stop, and it will rest there on its own. And you can see the pivot points there. And then we pull the handle and the roof vent pivots shut. And we're closed. One functioning roof vent on a Redpath Tunnelhouse. Looking good. So here's an interior view of the roof vent. We'll just do a flyby, and there's a chain hanging off the handle for those of shorter nature. You can just pull on the chain and the vent handle will swing open. So we'll leave that open for a second and we'll just show you the details of the assembly. So there we are, all done and dusted, and then we can close the handle again. And the vent pivot just pivots down and seals. Okay, so here we are. We're just doing some finishing work on the tunnel house. We put polyguard on the end rails and the side wall braces. These braces, they don't meet the end of the plastic, and here's the Purlin end, but it's good to put some protection on them, and we do that to save the any cover wear on the end sheet. So here we go. We've got a bit of polyguard coming in here, just a wee 50 or 70mm strip, just being wrapped around the ends, and that just acts as a barrier to stop any potential wear and tear over time from wind for when we put the end cover on. So that's one of the Purlins done, and here we are, we're just doing the sidewall brace, same way, just a wee wrap of the polyguard tape, just to stop any abrasion. So that's a worthwhile addition to do. We supply enough polyguard tape for this. You'll see that Purlin done. This one's already completed. Here and here. Okay, and down the other end we have the same situation where the purlins and the ends are covered. So the wall brace. So just some finishing work for the tunnel to keep it reliable over a long period of time, because the covers on these things last 10 years plus, so it's nice to have that extra little bit of protection to ensure that. So we're about to start the end wall cover on a domestic Redpath Tunnelhouse. This is the cover laid out on the ground here. It's approximately 3 metres by 3 metres supplied. The end wall itself is 2.3 by 2.3, so there's plenty of excess on the cover to hang it up in place. In the next shot we'll show Mark up the ladder, about to clip it into place. Here we go. So here we have the cover just pulled up in place. It's centred. There's an even amount hanging over this side, a little bit down on the ground. Sometimes they're a bit bigger than this, and then an even amount hanging over this side too. You'll see there's a fold line in the film. There usually is a fold line, and because we're trying to keep that square with the end of the building. In this case it's close to where the purlin is on the end of the tunnel. So the cover is basically loosely in place, and now we're going to start the clipping process. Okay, we're about to clip the end cover in place. Mark's starting at the top here. So we have the V-lock lock strip going into place. We've put a piece in at 12 o'clock at the top of the tunnel on the end. It's one piece in, then we put another piece in just to hold it in position, pulling the cover so it's got no wrinkles in it, just there. So that's the end cover sort of held at the top, so it's just sort of draped there currently. And we move across to the 3 o'clock position, looking at the front face. We pull it at about a 45-degree angle from that top clip, pulling it reasonably snug, and put a temporary piece in again in at the 3 o'clock position. And now we'll come across to the 9 o'clock position. Once again, just pulling the cover with that 45-degree angle, pulling it down, and put that piece in. And now we're going to put a piece in at 10 o'clock in here. And at 2 o'clock roughly. Pulling the cover flat so it doesn't have wrinkles. So we have the cover now roughly positioned. We've probably got to put a piece in each corner at the bottom so we know it's all good. And then we're going to go around and basically fill in the gaps and put a little bit of tension on the cover as we fill in the gaps for all the V-lock around the front face. Once again, the V-lock only goes in one direction. You'll notice that the vertical face of the V-lock always faces towards the film. The same as on the end, where we have the vertical face facing towards the film. Okay. Yeah, just starting. So we've got the clip all in and around the end sheet. The V-lock in place. Once again, just to repeat, the vertical face of the V-lock faces towards the film. All clipped off. And now we're going to move on to cutting out the door panel. Just cutting this door panel out and clipping that off as well. So here we are with our door end panel hung on the tunnel house. We're now going to trim the base rail and also cut out the door opening. So here's Mark here. We're going to start down at the base rail in the corner. We're going to cut a slit from the end portal straight out to the end of the tunnel and beside the doorway entrance. Once again, just straight out from that door stud, straight out the front. And on the second stud, straight out to the front, and the same in the corner post, straight out to the front. And we're just going to flick that panel onto the inside of the tunnel, because it actually gets clipped off on the inside of the front base rail. So we flick that through there, and this one also. This is beside the doorway, so this is the end base sheet being held. We just flick that through to the inside, because that's to be clipped on the inside face of the base rail. Now we're going to cut the door opening. So we have the door opening here, we have a lintel, and we have two studs of course, but of course I've got a cover over at the moment, so we have to remove that to have the opening for the door. So Mark's going to slice from the corner in a Y shape down to the middle, and from the corner down to the middle, and then a vertical cut, and then to each corner again, all right through. So now we have the opening for the door, and we have clipping system to go into the around the door perimeter edge. We don't put the clipping system up on the top, it's got polyguard on it, there's no need for it there, so it's just going to go round the door frame using the Duralock 2 system. So we're about to start that now. So here we have our door cut out, and then we're going to put the door lintel Duralock 2 in. So here we go, Mark's got the piece. We're pre-cut here, it's about 20mm shorter each end, or 15mm shorter each end than the actual rail. So just trim that up with your secateurs. And here's the insert going in, pulling the cover tight, just roll the channel part of the Duralock 2 in place first. And that's going to go into the groove on the lintel. You can see it just being pressed into place there. There we go. It can be tight, this one, because there's not much film to be playing with. Just take your time though and ease the channel in. So that's the channel part in now on the door, and then we're going to put the locking bead, tap the locking bead in again, as we've done before with the base rail. So there's the tapped in. Okay, so that's the top lintel done. We're going to start the sides now, so down each door stud, which will be the perimeter edge of the door. And here we go, we're starting on the Duralock side end stud to surround the door. We just start at the top. Once again, we've got the channel being rolled in. So channel first, using the Duralock 2 system again. So we start that off. And we just put a little bit of tension on the film as we're pulling the film tight. You can see we just keep the tension on the main cover. So that's the channel part going in. The last part of the channel, you'll see it will go down to around about 10 inches or so, and then just trim a little bit extra with your secateurs to finish off this last smaller piece that goes into the Duralock 2. Now there's the, once again, just a little bit of tension going on the film as we feed the Duralock channel in, the first part of this. And there we go, that's the last piece in the groove. Now we're just going to tap the bead into place. Starting at the top again. So just taking care not to hit the plastic, only to hit the bead. And that just pops in down the length. We repeat this process around to the bottom of the door frame, and also of course on the other side of the door. And the door frame will be clipped off, ready to hang the door. So we've cut out our door, and we have the Duralock system fitted around the door frame, or the door opening, across the lintel and all the way down. And now we just have to trim the X-offs. We're going to finish off this base rail here also, and we first need to trim the door opening. Here we go. So just the tail of it, about 20mm behind the clip. We just follow using a knife or a pair of scissors, we just follow the film down, trimming out the opening. We do this on both sides of course, and then on the underside of the lintel. So we just trim that off to the eave corner, snip that off, and then when we take the top piece off, that's the opening of the door completed. Obviously we're going to complete that on the lintel and also on the stud now. And there, hey presto, with the door trimmed off nicely, we have a nice opening all ready to go. And on the inside, at the front base rail of the tunnel house, the Duralock clip is on the inside of the base rail. You'll see it on the inside if we move indoors. So the Duralock groove is on the inside, and we're going to clip the tail off of the front face plastic into this groove now. We've pre-cut the inserts about 20-25mm shorter than the groove itself to be fitted. And here we go, we're going to put the channel in now. So we just have the tail sitting on the inside of the frame. Once again, putting the Duralock channel in, starting that off, rolling the back edge in as we go. Often it's good to start in the middle. It's always, we've got some good tension on the film here, so you have to pull it. That's fine. And we carry on putting the insert in onto the end and coming in this way. Pop the insert in. we go. Now the bead goes in as before. Just give that a punch. And that's the inside of the end wall sheet held in place. Let's just repeat, the Duralock clip on the front wall is on the inside of the tunnel house, as opposed to the end wall where the Duralock clip is not on the inside, it's on the outside. The reason for that is we have it on the inside on the door end because the door is about to go on there and we need clearance for the door to slide and not damage the film as it opens and closes. So here we are, we're about to fit the door track and then the door to the Redpath tunnel. So we've got the door track, it's shape here, you can see this, and here we go. So we're going to bring it up to the front of the tunnel. We're going to make the door track flush with the end stud, and we're going to put one screw at the very end. Now you'll see the door track's parallel, it's going to be parallel with the Duralock lintel, you can see this here, alright. And then we're going to run along to the other end, and when we get to this other end, we see we have to remove just one of the V-locks because the door track's going to rest against that, so we'll just pop one of those out, rolling it with a pair of pliers together, squeeze it and roll it backwards. And then the door track's going to be put in horizontal, as we show it here. Just check that it's horizontal to that Duralock. One more screw into the front face of the arch, there. And we're going to put two more screws in under the lintel. One is about to go here, one is about here. So here we are, we're about to fit the door track and then the door to the Redpath tunnel. So we've got the door track, it's shape here, you can see this, and here we go. So we're going to bring it up to the front of the tunnel. We're going to make the door track flush with the end stud, and we're going to put one screw at the very end. Now you'll see the door track's parallel, it's going to be parallel with the Duralock lintel, you can see this here, alright. And then we're going to run along to the other end, and when we get to this other end, we see we have to remove just one of the V-locks because the door track's going to rest against that, so we'll just pop one of those out, rolling it with a pair of pliers together, squeeze it and roll it backwards. And then the door track's going to be put in horizontal, as we show it here. Just check that it's horizontal to that Duralock. One more screw into the front face of the arch, there. And we're going to put two more screws in under the lintel. One is about to go here, one is about here. So now we're going to slide the door onto the tunnel house. This is a single door, standard width. There is a dual door option where you have the door studs are wider, and we also have a wider single door option as well. But the basic principles are very similar. We have the door track on all of those different designs mounted horizontal, just on the top lintel. You can see it screwed here, running along. A little bit of overhang off the end of the arch, and the wider door has more overhang in this point here, and the dual door, the door track protrudes out from the tunnel house slightly. We'll just come around here because we've basically got a door ready to go in. There's the door track, and down the bottom here we've got the door guide, which is this part here, and the fin that's on the base of the door is going to slide in that groove to hold the bottom door stable. So here comes the door coming in now. You can see we have to line the door rollers up with the door track on the end there, sliding one in, and the fin at the bottom is the same. We just basically put the fin into the base and we slide the door on. Slide the door on, next roller goes into the track, and we're on. And the base of the door, that's in the fin there. So we have a smooth operating door. We just give that a test to make sure it's all good. Now we're going to put two locking screws in here to stop the door running off the ends of the track. And here we are with the doors in a closed position, and we're going to put a screw into the face of the track just to stop where the door roller is in behind here. We're going to place a screw approximately here so that the door roller can't continue off and then the door comes off the track. So we're just going to pop a stopper. It's about 125 or 130 mils in from the end of the track. So that's one screw acting as a door stop. So you can see the door roller hits the door. You can see the door is flush on the stud here. So that can't open, can't overshut. And then at the other end, we've got another one going. When you open the door opens to this point here where it's pretty much flush with the stud. And once again, we need a door stop to stop the door rolling off the end of the track. So we just put one more screw in. And that's the door stop there, so the door stops. So now the door closes and opens and hits the stop. And then when you open the door, it hits the stop at the other end. And there we have a functioning sliding door. So here we are with the 4.5 metre Redpath Tunnelhouse. This is the front door end. She's all clipped off. You can see the Duralock used on the inside of the base rail. You can't see it on the outside. It's actually the film goes to the inside. And we have the Duralock around the doorway. And of course the V-lock, the one-piece insert V-lock going up and over the front face of the arch. And of course it's holding the roof sheet as well. Moving down to the rear wall, we have the Duralock 2 system along the base rail, and also on the base rail on the rear end, the Duralock is on the outside, unlike the door end where the Duralock is on the inside. As you can see here, the Duralock's here. Now we're going to move on to the louver, and just to show you the louver first packed up, when it arrives in the kit set it looks like this. It's a 600mm wide, about 30mm wide, 30mm in diameter. We do find these get thrown in the rubbish sometimes by accident, so don't throw those out. These have got the polycarbonate louver blades for your louver system in there, so just leave those there, and we'll pan up and show us cutting the louver area out. So this is the frame that goes around the louver window is about to be fitted, and Mark's just going to cut the cladding because we've skinned this end, put the covers on this end already, just like the front end, so just follow that instruction for the front end. You can see we're cutting an X in the window opening to give us the slack so we can put the Duralock just around the perimeter edge of the louver itself. So we're just going to put the top piece in here. There we go. It's pre-cut. It's about 20mm or 15 to 20mm short of each end, which makes it a little bit easier to start off and get in the groove. The channel, as always, goes in first. As you can see there. Channel in, work that along. So that's the channel popped in, and now we're going to grab the bead as before with the Duralock 2 system, and as per the instructions. If you're stuck on the Duralock, you can see the drawings on the instructions. We just tap the bead in, and that's fixed on that top lintel. We're going to do that around the side, along the bottom, and up the other side of the louver window. We'll come back to that in a second. So here we are with the rear wall, and we've got it all clipped off, and louver clips around. The Duralock's now fitted, and we're about to fit the louver blades themselves. The louver polycarbonate is already pre-cut. The white outer layer there is on the full face to the outside environment, so we're just peeling that off, and we're going to slide it into the louver blade itself. It's all pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. Push down on the tang a little bit, slide the blade in, and that's one done. Now the other thing about this louver is there's a strong back, because the polycarbonate has some flexibility. So we have a strong back. There's a paper adhesive on the back of the strong back. You can see it here. So we peel that off first, and that's an adhesive, double-sided adhesive tape. Slide that off, and that's going to be fitted to the inside of the louver blade across its back. You can see it being stuck on there, right in the middle, a little bit of pressure in the middle, right across, and we have it fitted now. I'll show that through there. Showing the, yep, showing the strong back. Back up a little bit. No, don't turn the camera. Okay, so here we have the 3-blade louver fitted into the rear wall. So the polycarbonate, the mechanism is already fitted at the factory. So we have the handle on here on the left hand side, so that tilts open. Now you can see the strong backs are fitted here on each louver. Don't throw those out. Sometimes they look like part of the packaging, so don't throw them out. They've got double-sided adhesive tape on the back of them, and it's to strengthen the louver blade itself. So these are fitted. And just to make sure they're stuck to the polycarbonate, put a bit of pressure on each side and make sure it's well adhered. Alright, so that's the mechanism done, and then we'll just close it and open it a couple of times, just test it, and that's working well. And we're all done with the rear wall louver. Now we're going to install a rear wall shelf into a Redpath tunnel house. Just a shot of the parts here. We have 5 rails, approximately 2.3 metres long. They're 25mm square aluminium, and we have 4 shelf brackets with the screws, and there will be a driver bit with the kit set as well. So we'll just pause there for a second and we'll start the installation process. So first thing we're going to do is measure up from the bottom and find our heights using a simple tape measure. So you can set the shelf height any height you like. We normally place it above the angle brace. Oh, there goes our drill, and that height there that we're setting that one at is around about the 1100mm. But you can have it lower. But if you do make it lower, then the sidewall brace here, this sidewall brace will have to be unscrewed and lowered down to here. So if you do want your shelf lower, remember to lower your sidewall brace so it's out of the way. And Mark's just going to bring in the shelf unit where the mark is, and he's going to put some screws in, the pre-made mark. So this is a left-hand shelf bracket going on. You can see where the mark is. There's 3 screws to go in. And we just check that the shelf bracket itself is level before we put this next screw in, because we want this face here to be level as well. And there we go. Now we just check that with the level. Let's come up with just a little bit, and once we're happy, we put the other screw, this is for the left hand side, in. And there's one more screw to go in, which we'll do now, and we'll come back to the and we'll put the other shelves on. So here we have with the 4 end brackets all fitted to the end of the tunnel house. You'll notice the one on the left hand side has the fold facing this way, so the fold goes from the outside face in, and the bracket that's over on the right hand side has the fold facing towards the inside as well. So that's a right hand bracket and a left hand bracket. The 2 internal brackets, it doesn't really matter which way you face the fold, but they screw onto the side face of the corner stud, as you can see there with the 3 screws, and the same again. Now we'll just bring in the first of the back rails. You'll see on these brackets there are 5 holes pre-drilled, ready to take the top rails, which we're about to bring on. We'll bring one on now. There's the first rail going on. The rail's going towards the rear, so we line that up with the holes that are on the bracket, more or less. And then we're going to look underneath and find the hole, grab a screw, and we'll start at one end and we'll put a screw in to hold that first rail. Show underneath here, so you can see the holes in the pre-made bracket. Yeah, position the rail roughly in the centre. The rail roughly in the centre. We can do one end, we go to the other end now, and we can do the same thing. It's fitted. So when we look back now, we just have the first rail fitted. That's the back rail, and we're going to fit the rails to the back rail to screws to this one and this one, and then we're going to fit the other 4 rails, and we'll show it completed in a second. And here we have the 5 rails fitted. It's all completed, and each of these rails has a screw below, 5 on each bracket, so 5, 10, 15, 20 screws. And that's the shelf fitted in place, nice and horizontal. And we'll have a video of the side shelf also for you shortly.